Alright, what do I have planned today? Well, today, because we have the main structural members all sorted out on the frame, now I need to go ahead and cut off the axle spring brackets. So basically I gotta cut the axle off this old frame, and I need to find the proper place to place it on this trailer, which I'm not exactly sure where I'm gonna put it yet. So that has to be welded on there. Also, when I cut out this V-member the other day, I was talking about that, I noticed that we have a little pocket of rot right there. Well, kind of a big pocket, but that's okay. So what I'm going to have to do to correct that is I'm going to have to take another piece of this 2x4 steel. I'm going to cut it diagonally, so a piece there. Then I'm going to cut it on the bottom rear corner. And basically I'm going to put it back on here like an angle, and I'm going to weld it here and weld it on the other side and weld it up and around. So basically that'll be a patch to reaffirm the structural strength of this frame, which, I mean, on the outside, no damage right there. A little bit on the underside, but when again, when I put this piece of angle on here, which you'll see it all come together later, it's just going to be welded back on there, and it's going to be a good patch. So I'm not going to record me cutting off these axles because that's pretty basic. I mean, I'm just cutting it with a cutting wheel, so I'll save you from that boredom, and I'll get back to you when I get the axle positioned and ready to weld. Okay, so update. The axle has been removed. However, I'm remanufacturing some of these spring hangers because I'm not completely satisfied with them. So these are the spring hangers, and for the amount of weight the trailer's taking and the condition of these, if you notice, there's a little bit of wear in there. I could put them back in and they'd probably be fine, but you know, if I'm going through the lengthy process of restoring this thing and trying to do it properly, I want to do this thing right. So I have a piece of 1.5 inch solid steel bar. These pieces are like 1 3/4 wide. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to machine 2 holes that are the same diameter as the pre-existing holes, and I'm just going to weld this onto the frame, and this will last pretty much forever. These spring hangers now will definitely outlast the life of the trailer. So yeah, I'm going to drill those holes before I cut this piece in half, because it's going to give me a little bit more to hold on to and to clamp around. So let's get drilling. So very important, when you're working around a drill press, you want to make sure you roll up your sleeves. You don't want to have any loose strings from a sweatshirt. You don't want to have anything that can catch onto this. One of my favorite shows growing up as a child was American Chopper, actually. And I remember one specific episode where the guy, Vinny, had a piece of loose clothing and he wrapped his hand around the drill press, had to go to the emergency room. It's kind of nasty, kind of freaked me out a little bit being so young, but you know, little accidents like those hopefully teach us and help us become more intelligent and learn how to be safe. Alright, so I got a lot of these problems straightened out, and things are moving along pretty smoothly right now. So as you can tell, I have the axle positioned, I have everything prepped to be welded, everything's ground down. So it was tricky positioning this axle because it's crucial that you have it perpendicular to the center line of this trailer, and perpendicular means it's directly across or at a 90-degree angle. If you don't have it perfectly perpendicular to the center line or the pull line of this trailer, say your axle's twisted, while you're pulling this thing straight down the road, the tail of the trailer will be off to one side a little bit. And of course I'm exaggerating, but the way that you can check to make sure that this is perfectly perpendicular to the center line of your trailer is to hook a center point. So off the hitch, I use that as a fulcrum, and I measured from that corner of the axle to that corner of the axle, and those two measurements are now exactly the same. And I played around with this a little bit. I have upward pressure on the axle from a jack, and I also have these front spring hangers clamped on there with 11R vice grip. So that is ready to be welded, and then I have to, of course, do the rear hanging brackets, but I'm not too worried about them right now. The front ones are more crucial. Also, I figured out this rot, which I think I already mentioned. I figured out what I'm going to do here. So these are the brackets, or the I don't know, the repair piece that's going to go on here. So I'm just going to weld that completely up and around. Everything's ground down nice and shiny, so we get a good clean weld. And after I cover this with decking, you're never going to be able to tell that I welded a support plate in there. So yeah, I'm going to grab a quick snack, and then we will get welding on these crucial welds. Alright, at the end of day 3, I got the axle almost completely finished. All the brackets are in place. I just gotta put the bolts on and bolt everything back down. Making good progress. Today I've been working on this thing, maybe 5 hours since I got home from work, so I'm pretty tired. You know, I oftentimes wonder what it would have been like if I chose to be a welder or a mechanic for a career choice, and I gotta hand it to you guys. Being on your hands and knees is, even for me, you know, I'm 24 and it's really hard on the body. So welding and mechanical work to me is fun when I do it for myself, and I do it kind of for my own pleasure and benefit. But I kind of feel now that if I had to do that every day and, you know, breathing in those welding fumes, granted, of course, I try to wear a mask wherever I can, but you still get some of that stuff in your lungs. I give it credit to you guys. It's a hard life, and it's definitely a man's job. So that's all I have to say. Just you might want to reevaluate your career choices, because as soon as you start doing something that you love to do as a hobby for your job, you know, it really does kind of change things up a little bit. So I'm gonna charge the battery, and we'll get back out here hopefully tomorrow if it doesn't rain. Alright, so believe it or not, it's starting to come together. So what I've done off camera is I've simply just temporarily bolted on the axle and suspension. As you can see, it's just temporarily bolted. I'm going to need to get new hardware. As this suspension moves up and down, it does wear at these parts. I don't know if you can see, but that bolt right in there has some wear. There are bushings on these leaf springs, and I do need to replace those, so I'm going to have to order up some new hardware. I mean, it's just being held on there with 2 lug nuts right now. So I just kind of wanted to see what it'd start to look like, and I'm trying to get an idea of the weight of this thing. I'm trying to keep it under 800 pounds. In New York State, if the trailer's over 1,000 pounds, you have to put brakes on it. It's a 3,500 pound axle, so I'm looking to register it for 3,000 pounds. Anything that you register over 3,000 pounds has to have brakes. So trying to keep it under that threshold, and the lighter I keep the trailer, then the more weight I can legally put on it. So yeah, what do I need to do today? I need to take a piece of angle and throw it right across here, and a piece of angle right across there. As you can see, I already have the spots marked out where I want to mount that angle, and that angle is just gonna basically be what do you want to call them? Yeah, so those 2 pieces of angle are just kind of going to be joists to help support the floor, which I'm looking for wood right now. I'm trying to get it for free if I can find it off a used deck or something. Of course, I've said it before, I'm trying to keep this kind of budget friendly, but I need to put those 2 joists, if you want to call them that. I need to weld those in, and then I got to finish the frame. I got these pieces of angle for free from my trucking job, of all places. These were old pallet shells, and they took them down, and they've been sitting out back for years, and I asked them, hey, can I have them? And they're like, yeah, sure. So that saved me a lot of money right there. I mean, if I had to go out and buy all this angle, that would have been probably, hell, $150 to $200. So yeah, so we're gonna do those 2 joists, and then I'm gonna do a C-frame. So there's gonna be angle here, here, and here. I don't have long enough pieces of angle to make one continuous piece. So as you can see, so in the back I'm going to have to join that, weld that, and then do a piece in the back, and then the rear is going to be open, so I'm not going to have a piece of C-channel there. And then the next thing that I'm going to have to figure out as the sun's starting to come out is rails, which I already think I have my rail system figured out. You know, I could leave it as a flat deck, but I feel like it'd be better to have rails. That just provides a little bit of protection if anything ever comes unstowed, and it also adds, you know, to the utility feature of the trailer. So if I wanted to put some plywood along those rails, then I could load this up with dirt or something like that, or mulch, a little bit of gravel, of course not over exceeding the weight of this. So this is the pieces of angle that I have for the rails. There's two 20-foot pieces, and I think this is 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, so that should work out just perfect. And that's what I have planned for today, so let's get started. Alright, so now I'm working on the angle, and again, I was saying before that the angle is going to form a C, and what that's going to allow, it's going to allow me a place to countersink the decking into. So this is 74 inches, so I cut this front piece 74 inches, and of course it's going to overhang the V-nose of the trailer. And also, in order to get this to fit up real nice, I'm not doing a half-ass job where I'm just laying the angle on top of the angle, which you'll understand what I mean in a second. So to connect those pieces of angle to that piece of angle, I could have just laid it right over top, but what I elected to do is notch it out. So I'm notching this out, and then this is going to butt up against the new angle, and it's going to sit so this inner flat part of the angle is going to be even with each other. So I'm just taking a little bit of extra time to do this the proper way, and it should turn out really nice in the end. Okay, sorry I didn't get the last part on camera. It took me a while to get this squared up just where I wanted it, but everything's roughly fit in there. It's tacked down. Everything is square, everything is flat, everything is level, everything is flush. It's actually starting to look like a utility trailer now, which is nice. So I need to weld all this up. I already have the metal prepped for where I gotta grind, and or excuse me, I got the metal prepped to where I gotta weld. Now after I finish welding out that section, then I gotta cut two pieces, a piece here and a piece of angle right there, weld that together and just extend that, and then I can start working on the railings.